Melting Pot, a new reality show that takes a raw look at the closed lives of American people. A physician friend told me this story. A Somalian woman dressed in traditional attire walked into the hospital in labor. Without a female doctor present, the woman was reluctant to undergo his exam. He then discovered that the woman's vaginal anatomy had been mutilated and all that remained was a pinhole where a normal vagina should have been. Next, he learned that the woman's husband is an American-trained physician. Furthermore, the woman had never had vaginal penetration, and the sperm would be injected into the vaginal opening in hopes of procreation. The thought that this is the only woman in America that lives this sort of lifestyle is far from the truth. Rather, my physician friends all tell me similar sorts of stories. Your America, your culture, your stories from your point of view. My interest in culture in America has led me on many interesting journeys. I want to emphasize that my interest lies purely in culture, not race, as there are many cultures that may exist within one race. My hope is not to give you my perspective as does traditional media, rather allow you, the viewer, to guide us through this experience. Culture in America. The next story illustrates a culture with a rich history and people that gave their lives for an American cause, yet they live somewhat removed from mainstream American society. A friend and I, a white boy and a black boy, pulled up to an annual Hmong soccer tournament. Our windows were down as we parked. We could hear kids saying, "Somebody made a wrong turn. What are they doing here?" Well, we immediately walked over to the soccer field to meet our friends and watch the competitions. En route, my friend tapped me on my shoulder. He had a look of true amazement in his eyes. Looking in the same direction, my jaw dropped. I was speechless at what I saw. The park was littered with advertisements for a Hmong musical group. The group HIV, plastered all over the park. Hub Ibvog, which means love in an instant. They used the first letter of each word to name their musical group, HIV. Armed with my experiences and the stories mentioned above, I attended several small focus groups to explore culture in America. A few stories stand out. A Jewish family with 3 generations of women allowed me to interview them. I asked what I believe were the hard questions on culture, religion, education, and their perceived position in American society. The most memorable thing that came from that interview was the grandmother's statement that she would disown her granddaughter if she did not obtain a good education. The mother then expressed the same sentiments. When I asked the granddaughter what she had hoped to obtain, the grandmother then spoke up and said, "My granddaughter is going to become a pharmacist." The mother echoed the same. The 15-year-old granddaughter stated, "I will not only become a pharmacist, I will become a PharmD. I have already obtained a pharmacy tech license and I work 2 to 3 hours per day after school in the local pharmacy." For this family, as they expressed most Jewish families, the entire family is behind encouraging and supporting a singular goal for this young 15-year-old girl, and there seemed to be no exception for her. In a similar discussion with an Indian Southeast Asian male, he explained to me what he perceived his position as American society to be, moreover how that was shaken up by a reality check. My friend had come out of Wall Street to run a hotel and convention center in downtown Chicago. When brokering the deal, he stated, "It seems like we, Indians, are buying up America. Sooner or later, we'll own it all." The Jewish lawyer responded, "Don't be fooled, my friend. For every major transaction that occurs in this country, we, meaning Jewish people, will always have our hands in the deal." This concept is raw like the movie Crash, but informed and personal like CNN's Black in America. A contestant may come to Melting Pot with stories like those above and help us explore the dichotomy that exists. Simultaneously, explore culture, in popular media, what's fact and what's fiction, and allow the cast to bring understanding, dignity, and humanism to their cultural experiences. This is a story that touches my very core. It was shared with me by my physician friend. We'll call him Paul. As we discuss fatherhood and what it meant to us to be fathers, the difficulties, challenges, and all these things above. So he shared with me this story. An elderly African-American male, Robert, with a 6th grade education, was in his clinic. He was a retired successful plumber. My friend Paul, the physician, heard his next patient. It was a 5-year-old boy running up and down the hall. Paul described him as having the worst ADD, opposition-defiant personality that he had ever encountered. He could hear this kid in the hall, just making a total ruckus. So could Robert. Robert spoke up without prompt, said, "Hey, I know that kid. That's my grandson. He's bad." So my friend Paul naturally asked, "Well, would you like to say hello to him? Would you like to, kind of try to quiet him down for the other patients?" Robert says, "No," emphatically. "No. I don't know him." He had gone on to explain that his son had been in jail. He had lost contact with him and a grandson. Furthermore, Robert explains that he has somewhere between 13 and 19 children. He's not sure. With pride, he states he's been with many women and never married. Some of his children and their mothers live upstate, but most are within the city limits, and he still has no contact with them. In my discussions with a small African-American focus group, it seems to me that this is a theme that exists in the African-American society. The lack of African-American fathers. I had a few individuals state an African-American male that's not been to jail or whom at least has a GED is considered a success. I asked, culturally, is this the norm? I do recognize that there are a lot of good African-American fathers and men out there, but has society changed such that Robert is the norm? Will African-American homes become fatherless? Your America. Your cities. Your stories. Your culture. Told from your point of view. There are many secrets, cultural beliefs, and practices that can only be explained and explored by you. I welcome you to join in as we explore America. Melting Pot, a reality series coming in 2011.